Okay everyone, it is the morning of the 6th. This is the video for the 5th. I was going to film this last night, and then I got a little bit too excited for Overwatch, and ended up playing it for 4 hours straight, and did not get anything done. So, yeah, Overwatch is good. Like, Battleborn, I played Battleborn, in the beta a little while back, and it felt like a mess. It was chugging really hard on my computer, and my computer is not the best in the world, but it's certainly not the worst either. And it was like chugging really hard even on like the lowest settings, and I kind of was like, I don't know what to say. On the other hand, Overwatch is smooth, Overwatch is crisp, Overwatch is working just absolutely great, and it feels good. Like it feels enough. It feels different enough from Team Fortress 2, even though it's kind of sort of the same thing. I do have an issue with some of the game modes being like, really heavily balanced kind of towards the defending side and making it really hard to be like on the attack team. But aside from that, actually a really good game. I love it. I will probably be actually paying money for it. But that's not the point today. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about meditation, because I said that I would do a video about meditation last week, and I simply kept face rolling and not being able to get it done. So, meditation. Meditation is extremely important. And I wrote a book about this, actually, an ebook, about how it may be important, but it's become highly commodified in our society, and there's simply a lot of these weird faux mindfulness sort of techniques or things that are pitched as real mindfulness, and of course it's a problem. You get sort of stuff where people are like, oh, you need a detox from social media, you need to turn off your Facebook and your Twitter for a week, and then of course you go right back to it afterwards, and it's not something that really changes your lifestyle. You kind of go like, oh yeah, that was a good experience, and that was it. The thing with meditation and any kind of mindfulness practice is that you need to do it as a habit. You can't just do it for a week out of a month, or a day out of a year, or whatever, and expect that to really help you a lot. Much like with fitness, much like with diet, you are the product of your habits. So you need to build habits related to meditation. You need to make that a habit, just like brushing your teeth, or getting up for your alarm clock in the morning. I think that so I listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast, which is I'm a little embarrassed to admit, because Tim Ferriss is the quintessential tech bro who's like maybe not quite like things just don't connect with him in the outside world sometimes maybe, but I think that Tim is kind of like a very boring person, but he's rich, so that's cool. And his specialty, his skill lies in the fact that he interviews other high, top performers in the world and tries to find, sort of like common threads to their success. And I would say that he's much more adept at finding much more interesting people than himself to talk to and to get on his show. So, one of the things that he tries to thread in there as a common thread is that they all have some kind of mindfulness practice. Now, I would doubt that all of them really seriously do, and I would have said that, it's likely that some of them are probably just playing that up for the camera, or, the microphone, I guess, in this case, because it's a podcast. But, yeah, it does still seem to be a common thread with top performers, is that they have some kind of mindfulness practice that allows them to get outside themselves and take sort of a more distanced look at things. So that's one of the big things for me in terms of the benefits of meditation. Obviously, it allows you to calm yourself down. It allows you to sort of take a little bit more control over your mental health. I read a really amazing study a little while back about how it actually temporarily changes your gene expression. So for those that don't know what that means, we used to think that you had a specific gene, and that meant that it does a specific thing. So you have X gene and it does Y. But the thing that we discovered later is that the same gene can do different things based on the situations that it's placed in. That's called epigenetics. So the way a gene expresses itself can be different. And so, for example, you might have a gene that looks like, that regulates aggression, or a high level of aggression. And in, say, the medieval ages, you might have been someone who, started attacking people with swords all the time. Or versus today, you might be someone who, is like a high-powered businessman. These things are not directly the same, but they are sort of related. And because, it can express itself in different ways, you shouldn't necessarily expect that genetics will absolutely dictate every single little pattern of behavior. So, so what that means is that meditation can actually temporarily enable you to change your actual physical body. And I don't know if that's a learned habit that you could, make more permanent later on. I don't remember the exact study, and I don't have it in front of me, of course. But it's super interesting to think of the idea that meditation can actually cause physical changes within us, aside from simply, like being able to, break our mental patterns. And that's the reason I use it the most. Obviously, as a person who deals with anxiety, sometimes my problem is that my thoughts get trapped into little loops, and then I can't, I can't get out of that. And so meditation enables you to, by focusing on clearing your mind, it enables you to get out of whatever patterns of thought you're already in, and you can, using that, you can get it get a more complete look at things, and use that to sort of decide where to go next. So the way I meditate is maybe not the traditional way to meditate, and I don't think that there has to be a traditional way to meditate. I don't think that you have to follow a particular school or anything like that. I think that you should focus on breathing. I think that you should focus on either clearing your mind or guiding it in a specific, some kind of specific task, via like a guided meditation thing. I think that that's, and I think that you should also have some kind of element of proprioception, which is, again, focusing on your body, focusing on how things feel and are put together. I think those are the main things. I think that whatever else you do, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing those things. So, so the way I tend to do it is that if I'm going to sleep, I will do what I call a renunciation practice. So I'll be lying down in my bed, and I will start meditating, I will start focusing, and then I'll start telling my body to renounce various parts, little by little. So I might say, okay, forget about the feet, and then now, the shins, and then now the knees, and then now the quads, and now, the hips, and, now we're going to go to the hands and the arms, etc. And what happens is that I have this progressive feeling of sort of a lightness or airiness sensation. Of course, I don't move these limbs after I make this renunciation, so that I can kind of keep the effect going. If I move, it sort of goes away. And what I get is sort of this light, airy, full body sensation where, I feel a little bit less connected to my body, and I feel a little bit more kind of, out there in the world. And that is super helpful for me. It's been a practice that's worked really well for me. And I do this again pretty much every night before I go to bed. And that's, you don't even have to do that. You could do it, you could make it like brushing your teeth. You could sit down in a chair for 5 or 10 minutes. You could sit down on a pillow. You could do the traditional method where you kind of, sit in a row in a room with, 10 other people or whatever. There's so many different ways you can do it. It doesn't matter what you do so long as you're doing it somehow. And I think also that there's massive value in doing sort of, like walking meditation or active meditation, where you are, say, taking a walk and focusing your thoughts inwards and concentrating on your breathing instead of simply sitting in a place. I would say that I have, and another reason another way that I meditate is that I have very meditative workouts. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm, like Zen the entire time and focusing and breathing the entire time. But I will use, breathwork techniques to help myself recover in between sets of a super heavy, deadlift or whatever. And that is, and I tend to work out a little differently than a lot of people. I tend to, when I do music, I'm not doing like this, like this loud pump up music. I'm doing like a quiet, relaxing music. And I tend to like to not want to work out with a ton of other people around, or like without, being, chatting, with people, simply because I get very into the zone when I do my workouts, and I don't really want to get out of that. And for the same reason, I actually tend to like to work out at night when it's kind of dark out and, you know, like no one's in the gym, and, you know, you can kind of sort of have the gym to yourself. That's how I, you know, tend to do things. And yeah, like that can be massively powerful too. You know, all kinds of athletes at a high level will talk about how breathing is super important at, you know, at high levels of performance. And controlling your breathing enables you to recover faster, enables you to kind of, yeah, it's extremely useful. And for me, it helps me get the most out of my workouts, and it helps my workouts be as effective as they can be in terms of, again, calming my thoughts and, you know, like helping me just take control of my day. Working out for me has always been the thing that ordered and guided my life. Before I worked out, I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. And when I started working out, when I started, you know, following exact splits on how I had to train things and, you know, organizing how I had to do stuff and writing down what I did, I became a much more orderly person. Simply because I was doing this one thing where I had to take lots of notes and, you know, be very exact about things. And, you know, adding meditation to that has only made it better. So, I think everyone should have some kind of meditation practice. I think you should have some kind of meditation practice. As I've mentioned before, the main thing is building up a habit. That, you know, it doesn't matter if you're doing it for 5 minutes a day, just so long as you're doing it. And there's lots of apps that you can use to sort of remind you to do this, that, you know, that'll help you do this. I think Headspace is the one that I hear recommended the most, but I couldn't tell you. You know, like I haven't actually tried it out myself. Yeah, and the thing with any habit, of course, is that it takes a while to build, and you're going to kind of, you know, like you're definitely going to hit low points, and, you know, in the first few months you're going to hit that point where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. But, you know, as long as you stick with it, it does become a habit, and, you know, it'll totally change your life. So, yeah, meditate more, work out more, and play Overwatch. I guess those are the lessons for today. So as always, you know, thank you guys. Like the video, comment, share, you know, whatever. And I'll see you guys later.